So this is what we've got so far. Fried off the pancetta, had that lovely, the fat of that lovely bacon goes into the actual dish. Then we added the garlic and the onions and we sweated them off for a while, probably 5, 6, 7 minutes. And then we started to build the actual soup itself. So we've started with adding the courgette, which is thickly cut. Part of the rind left on it, which adds some of the goodness into it, after washing that, of course. 3 medium carrots has been added into there. We then had a tin of chopped tomatoes, borlotti beans, cannellini beans, and then we've added half a pack of passata as well, so you've got all this lovely tomato colour in there and flavouring. Got some seasoning, which is just some black pepper, telly cherry black pepper in our case, and also some sea salt for taste. And then we've now sweated off the first of the greens, which is about 5 handfuls of spinach. So what we're going to add now is keep adding the greens into there until it'll take no more. So this is just some mixed cabbage. As I say, you can get this freshly packed. You can cut your own cabbage, you can do whatever you need to do, but for ease, because this normally takes me only about 45 minutes to prepare and make, and then it takes about an hour to cook, so you know, you want to try and shorten the time as possible. So just keep adding the cabbage. Remember that you need to leave room for the beautiful black kale, or the kale of any type that you put in there, because that adds the depth of flavour. I've got about, you know, I added 800ml and we just added about 500ml of vegetable stock there. Again, it depends on the size of your pan, but there's plenty of room in there for more cabbage now. At the end of this, you know, to turn it from being a vegetable soup into a minestrone, we're going to add spaghetti, of course, and another ingredient which is very Italian, but at the moment obviously this is just very much like a chunky vegetable soup, but it's the way I like my minestrone. So we've got plenty of cabbage going in there now. I'm just going to do one more clump of that, and then that will do for the cabbage. I'm going to now I've got these beautiful kale leaves, so I'm going to slice these up into single, so into similar sorts of size portions as the cabbage. So chop that up, so you can see it's beautiful and tender. Variety of black kale that goes in next. So here we are. This is the black kale. It's beautiful. Look at that. Otherwise known as Cavolo Nero, I believe. So if you see that in the shops instead of this, known as black kale, then you know, get that. This is Tesco's finest, but it's only £1.50 at the moment. And all we're going to do is just simply keep adding to the soup that we've started so far. Remember, we've got spare spinach left here. We've got some cabbage left there if we need it. But I'm going to try and major on the kale. Try and get as much kale in there as possible. It's probably going to get half of this portion, and then you can cook the rest off in another meal. But I'm going to start with that. I'm going to see if we can let that settle. Fairly full soup. This will reduce a bit as we go along, and I've still got some passata to add to the wetness of this, so there will be some room to get some spaghetti in here at some stage after the cooking process has taken place. But give that a good mix. Try and get as much kale in there as you can. I think that's all I'm going to get in there. Maybe 1 or 2 more bits, and then I'll just add at this stage the rest of the passata, just to add a bit more flavour in there. Again, it's just a fairly standard size, 500 grams of passata, and then we'll just get the last of what I can do. I've almost got all that kale in there, so that's brilliant. Now obviously this isn't boiling at the moment, it's very hot, but it's, as we're adding more fluids to it, more ingredients, it's preventing the boiling. But what we need to do is let that heat up for a few minutes. Once we've got it fairly close to boiling, what we're going to add then is one of the main ingredients. Now I've obviously got Parmesan here. I wouldn't recommend going for any of the, you know, sort of similar type cheeses that you can get like this. Try and stick with the Parmesan if you like. if you can, because it's going to bring so much more flavour to the actual soup. What I do is, because I've got the rind here, and I like that flavour going into my soup, this turns the soup from being a ultra healthy to a semi-healthy type of dish, but cut off a fairly big cob of that. And what I'm going to do is put this in my soup, and that will melt away and bring all them beautiful flavours to it. So cheese, Parmesan in the soup, you just let that sink. This is heating up nicely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this come to the boil. I'm going to put the lid on it, and then I'm going to simmer for probably the best part of 40-45 minutes, and then add the spaghetti. So this is the last you'll see of this for 45 minutes or so. What you need to do during the 45-minute cooking process where it's simmering is obviously keep your eye on it. Look at the beautiful mix of vegetables all coming together lovely there. Just give it a stir, you know, once, 2, 3 times. If in the first 10 minutes or so you feel that there's room for more cabbage, more spinach, more kale, any of the ingredients that you like the most, then you know that's the time to put it in, so it gives it time to cook. This is just about beautiful for what I want, so time is given to cook now, so it needs to do for the 45 minutes. This has been going for about 10 minutes now. What you need to do whilst this is happening is clean up, get rid of your waste, recycle your tins, wash down your worktops, and get rid of the food waste that you've got. Also, there should be spinach and cabbage left, some kale possibly. Bag them up, put them in the fridge. They'll do for a nice meal tomorrow, some stir fry or whatever you want to do. So keep busy whilst this is cooking. Okay, so the the soup has been simmering away for about 45 minutes now, and you can see I've been stirring this as we've gone along. There's no real need for me to add any more greens into this. Everything's mixing together lovely. The smell's gorgeous. You'll see that the Parmesan is pretty much melted away. There will be rind left there that we need to take out, but the actual flavours have infused the cheese with the vegetables and the tomatoes and the garlic. What we need to be thinking about now for the last 15-20 minutes or so is which pasta to use. Now obviously the standard, I think, in minestrone soup is spaghetti, which is what we use. You can use fusilli or, you know, some other pasta shells or whatever. I've had some Italian restaurants and that's what they've given. We stick with the standard spaghetti. Now I'm not going to put this in its full length. What we'll do is break this into, you know, probably into thirds. The soup's already quite thick and we need to maintain an element of the actual the wet ingredients, you know, the vegetable stock, so it is like a soup rather than a meal. But okay, so we're going to add probably about 20-25 individual parts of spaghetti, and keep adding until we're happy that there's enough in there. Remember, of course, that as it heats it's going to expand, so we're going to cook it for another 15-20 minutes or so. So soup's done. It's been on for about 45 minutes. We're now going to add the pasta. So these little lengths that I've put in, this is the amount of spaghetti I've used initially. I've broken it into thirds, so there's twice the amount already in there of the actual pasta itself. Don't really care too much about having too much pasta in there. Clearly this is one of the elements that turns it from vegetable soup to minestrone, but as it expands it's going to be quite a bit in there anyway. May add a bit more. Maybe about this many more. I'll do that, break into thirds, put it in there, and we're going to simmer for another 15 minutes or so. So we've had spaghetti in here for 15 minutes in addition to the 45 minutes the soup's cooked for. You can tell now it's the spaghetti's expanded, it's cooked. Only normally needs about 12-14 minutes spaghetti anyway. What we're going to have to do is take the rind out from the Parmesan first, so we're going to find that. Sometimes quite difficult. If you've stirred your soup, it won't be stuck on the bottom of the pan, which is always a danger. So there's just the rind left. Obviously the cheese is melted, so we'll just take that out. You don't want to feed that to anybody. Okay, so that's the soup done. What you need to do is not serve it immediately. Just let it cool for a bit, fester, as Jane says, for a while. So turn the heat off. You can add your own further seasoning if you want at that stage, but all you need now is some lovely parmesan on the top of it, shaved, with some crusty bread, and that's the soup done. Chef Gerard out.